and welcome to Captain Spish Dog Behavior Podcast. I'm Kyle Adams, aka Captain Spish.
And as always, T.Tommy here, rocking
And-
the gunge. Not really, but I just thought I'd try something different.
It's legal now. It's Ohio. It's okay. And then we're here with Becky. She is a groomer. She operates a portable grooming business that go around and pick up pups and cut their hair and trim their nails and make them look frou-frou. And she has a V10 in that thing.
Yes, I do.
It's not a Viper, is it?
It's 24 feet long. It's a big bus.
Oh, goodness.
I need a big bus. I already have a big enough bus. Mine's 5.9 liter V8, but
There you go.
So anyway, we're here to talk about dog behavior and grooming. And since I'm not a groomer, but I'm a behavior expert, I figured I'd get together with somebody that has already said, hey, groomers need some information about how do we deal with these things, or I'm actually here to ask you, how do you deal with these things?
Okay.
I was going to say, grooming seems to be her forte, not yours. We have a dog behavior expert, we have a grooming expert, and then we have the fat guy over here who's just like,
Well, we just, I do my best. So there's times that dogs can't be groomed by a regular groomer. They need an expert handler. And so I offer services of at least nail trims. And I don't usually cut hair, but I mean, if it's medically needed, like they have mats and I can work through it because I'm physically strong enough. I'm also gentle enough to make it as good of an experience as possible, but still get the job done. And I have to tell clients, well, it may take me 3 or 4 visits to give them a full bath or to get all their nails trimmed, because they have a limit. I have a limit. And when my brain's screaming, hey, I'm really stressed, and I see that dog stressed, I'm like, well, this isn't going to work towards this being better next time.
Right.
So we need to stop it on a better note. And then I take a lot of time. So sometimes I'll trim like 3 or 4 nails, and then I see that's as much as that dog can take because they're trying to bite me and they're fighting me, and I'm just taking my time. And I just sit there and show them the clippers and touch them gently everywhere else and anywhere like between the eyes. It relieves a lot of stress on dogs, and in the middle of the chest, across here, this just to relieve the stress and rebond with them, get some of that oxytocin flowing.
Yeah, do that a lot with puppies too, to get them started. Tell people just
and that's what I
1
do.
foot and let them go.
I deal with adult dogs that have puppy behaviors because they have no experience or bad experience or terrible combination of the two. Those are the worst. The ones that have almost no experience, and the experience they do have is not great.
Yeah.
And that goes for anything, grooming or not.
Well, and when you're doing toenails, if you hit a quick by mistake, some dogs not only remember that you did that, but they know which foot it was. So the next time you go back, it's hard to do that same foot.
Right.
They know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Yeah, dogs remember.
Yeah.
Almost too well,
They
especially
say they live
breeds.
in the moment. I'm not so sure about that.
I think they're more capable of living in the moment,
Yeah.
but Tommy and I have talked about that on a couple episodes because he's even asked me that.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was like, dogs with normal psychology, yeah. Dogs with abnormal psychology or abnormal behavior,
Yeah.
There's a reason there's abnormal behavior there. It has trauma.
Yeah.
They're bringing into the present what has happened in the past because that's their only thing they know.
Yeah.
And it's smart, technically, of them to assume if something bad happened before in the similar situation, it's probably going to happen now.
Yeah.
And why sit there and see if it happens if it's happened every time?
And
Stop
people presume that because the dog is nervous when it comes back or it doesn't want to go back in your van that you did something.
Oh, yeah.
That's rarely the case.
With pack therapy, I have dogs that love being out with the pack, get along great, love their walk, so happy, tail wagging. I have to get video for evidence because every time I go to pick them up, they act like I'm dragging them off to be shot in the woods.
And it's by breed sometimes too. Like every golden retriever I have will lay on its back right at the foot of the steps and refuse to go in.
Yep. And and it's usually a trait of general anxiety. So they have all this anxiety, and I usually explain it to clients like this: like, if you know you'll have a good time at that party, and you've been to the same party with the same people every year for many years, but it's still a struggle for you to get up out of the couch because you already sat down. It's a struggle to get dressed and worry about all the social interactions while people judge you. All this anxiety about something you know from experience is good and fun, and you enjoy it and you like the people there. But all that anxiety about just getting through the door, and you still want to do it.
Yeah.
And
that's kind of the same thing the dogs get. They know they'll enjoy on the adventure of being with me. They know they like the dogs that are with me, and they know they like me.
Yeah.
But the whole leaving what they know now and what's comfortable, because anxiety makes them, just like fear, and sometimes it's a combination of the two, makes them want to shrink the world to be as simple as possible. I'd rather be these four walls and this one person, and that's it.
Yep.
Anything else is a risk.
Sometimes it's even just the steps themselves. I have dogs that'll just do this and then just leap all of them right to the top.
The transition of environments dogs hate.
Yeah.
They're highly vulnerable.
Yeah.
That's why I tell people when I come in and the dog wants to attack me and they get used to me in the room. I was like, I'm going to get up, but when I go through that door, your dog's going to act like none of this just happened.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm transitioning from here to there, and it's an opportunity for them to chase me out because I'm still foreign and maybe a danger for them. And I'm going through that transition, and dogs that have anxiety know they can be targeted by other dogs, even you.
Oh, okay.
So they don't want to linger around the doorway, and they don't want to take it slow. They want to just quickly get I want to be outside or inside. I don't want anywhere in between.
Okay.
Because I'm vulnerable when I'm transitioning.
So
from like a bottleneck.
From like my profession standpoint, what would you suggest if the golden retriever's on his back at the steps?
Usually I will gently pick the dog up and place them on their feet enough times until they're on their feet. And then I'll wheelbarrow them from their butt and support them on their chest and get their front paw up and then their second paw, and then slowly push them up and just take it step by step. And if they really freak out or if they lay down, let them come out and just do it again. So when the dog realizes every time I lay down to protest, they're just going to go through this process again and make me move, and I just keep doing this, it's not getting me anywhere, and they're just going to keep doing this. So they just try to figure out what you want.
What you don't recommend is don't drag them by the neck with the leash up the stairs.
No, they won't learn anything from that, and I think it could also cause trauma, and I worry about damaging dogs' necks. Yeah, trauma. You have to worry about how they remember what happened, because what you do today will impact what's going to have to happen the next time and the next time and the next time, and it's just like a pile of shit. It'll just keep piling up.
Do you like those thunder leashes that turn into a harness? Have you seen those?
The ones that strap around the midsection?
They're kind of like you take them over the top, and then there's a special hook on the top that you put the leash through, and it becomes a harness.
Yeah, and it straps around the middle, the stomach. I don't like those. I think they're a high risk of organ damage.
Okay.
I've had some clients say it's really helped them out. I've told them, well, get an actual harness.
Yeah.
Get the Webmaster has 3 straps, one across the chest, one across the middle of the chest, and one back there.
Okay.
And it'll distribute weight across the broader area, and it often makes dogs feel less anxious because of the swaddling effect.
Okay.
So it's a pretty good harness for escape resistance and anxiety reduction.
Okay.
So that's made by the Webmaster's made by who? I can't remember the manufacturer. My wife, we own one for our dogs, but I can't remember who makes it.
Okay. I had to help them up. That was kind of like that, for mobility.
It's by Roughwear.
Roughwear, there. Okay. I thought it was Roughwear, but didn't want to say anything. Tommy's over there Googling stuff. That's what you're here for.
Trying my best not to look like I'm paying attention to the Google here.
See, Tommy's main function is to keep me on track because I'm a captain that steers off course, and he gets me back on subject.
I certainly do my best to.
He tries.
It's not always effective because I know better by this time. That is very
and
true.
Then he does the Google.
Okay.
I mean that's been about the best benefit of me doing it from here is if I need to look something, I can just Google it real quick and still be.
I have an iPad over here you can use whenever you're over here.
I'm gonna be the guy in the chair.
Tommy's like, peace out. I'm sick of this place. I'm going to Troy.
Okay.
Yeah, I totally made that decision. Let me tell you.
Yep, he went running. But anyhow, so do you have any particular cases that were really tough for you to deal with?
Well, the one I just told you about.
The golden retriever just lays down?
No, the little one that bit its owner.
Oh, yeah.
He's a Boston Terrier. It looks almost like a pit Boston Terrier. Small brindle.
Just a moment.
Okay. We'll talk amongst ourselves.
Okay.
Tommy has a roommate to deal with.
Oh, okay.
Off he goes.
So I mean, all I do is the dog comes in, he's happy, he's jumping up on me, he's wanting to lick my face, although I'm kind of cautious. He jumps right up on the table. Then I just put the string cheese or the peanut butter in the muzzle, put it on him. I put an e-collar on so he can't turn around. He's very good for the nails. But when I start to blow dry him, then he'll start to tense up and start kind of growling. And
yeah, it sounds like he has like hyper anxiety, like quick rises for certain particular reasons.
Yeah, because she said it seems kind of out of nowhere, but I'm sure it isn't. There's something triggering him, but they're not sure what.
My experience is when a dog is practiced at a certain behavior, a behavior that usually takes time to progress or succession, where there's some warning signs.
Yeah.
And they're so practiced at just getting to the bad behavior, they skip the warning signs for the most part. They're like, the warning signs are so brief because they know where they're headed. They already know what's going to happen. They just go right to the chase.
Yeah.
And so that makes it even more dangerous to handle a dog like that and makes people think, oh, they're totally unpredictable. Well, now they are.
Yeah.
But if you knew the history of the dog and it wasn't ignored all those times, it would be so unpredictable.
Yeah.
And he's back.
Well, I mean, that's just like what you were saying earlier about sometimes by the time you get to the dog, it's already over with. You know, they've already done everything and you can't do nothing to help out.
I can't do much. There's always something I can do. But I wish I could always give the clients exactly what they're really looking for, which is basically a quick fix, a magic pill. You know, I show up, I tell you a few things, you go, oh, and the behavior starts to get better immediately.
Yeah.
And that does happen, that kind of thing, but not as often.
Well, it was a learning curve for me too, because I don't understand what's in dogs' heads, but I understand cats really well. But dog behavior, I had to learn as I went along.
Yeah, they're distinctly different. I used to do both, but I always felt more comfortable with the dogs. And I've helped a lot of cats, and they're just domestic wildlife.
Yeah.
So that you just work with their instincts and their environment.
Yeah.
And that's usually, and that can be more clear cut to people that understand it, but make no sense to dog people.
No.
Dog people and dogs are about communication and training and interaction.
Yeah.
And cats like, I don't care what you want. Give me more litter box, or I'll keep pooping in your shoe. Clean my litter box more often. Give me a place to get out of the way. Yes.
And dogs aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, that's very clear cut and very easy to deal with. You can change the environment. You can give them more toilets and clean them more frequently and stuff like that. And give them places to hide and things to play with.
Get the occasional crazy cat that's just like the crazy dog that can't be fixed.
Yeah, because everything with a brain can be pretty thoroughly unfunctional.
Yeah, yeah.
I won't say.
Imagine doing this for people.
I won't give an example. Tommy probably knows what I'm thinking about.
I'm not saying a word.
But yeah, so some dogs. So it sounds like he's a very nervous type dog, and that can suddenly rise to nipping because of a literal trigger.
Yeah.
Some dogs have literal triggers, like something occurs and just like, bam, done.
Yeah.
Like a gun going off.
Yeah.
And those are the dogs that are practiced at already going from 0 to 100. So they just go right to 100. They don't have to go through the other numbers.
Yeah. I know I've heard some horror stories on some of the groups that I'm on with other groomers that are
Grooming
mobile.
Is a really dangerous job.
Yeah. They're Rottweiler was on somebody's table. They'd groomed this dog 7 times in the shop and twice in the mobile. The owner was with them, and the dog reared up, broke a 1-inch pipe with the loop off, and went for the groomer's throat. And she had to climb up where the air conditioner was to get away, and required like months of surgery.
Oh goodness!
And what triggered this dog? I don't know.
Well, and just like once again, everything with the brain.
Yeah. Every
single moment of every day is going to be different. And that's why I'm certainly not in any way blaming the groomer.
No.
I'm sure she did everything properly. She's obviously experienced with that dog. But for me as a behavior expert, I know I'm dealing with dogs that have behavioral issues.
Yeah.
And those behaviors aren't always going to be the same. A new one might appear out of nowhere.
Yeah.
A new behavior. So every time I pick up every single dog that I take in the pack, I still treat it like it's the very first day.
Yeah.
I listen to that dog every moment that I have him with me. I look for warning signs all the time, not in a nervous, worried, a paranoid way, but in a way that I feel a professional should.
Well, is that something they do with each other?
Yeah, that's how they communicate. It's
Yeah.
micro behaviors,
Yeah.
micro body
They
language, and
sense each other.
yeah, and you'd be surprised. Maybe you wouldn't, but the more a dog knows you're watching and understanding and listening, the more likely they'll be behaved.
Okay.
The less stressed they'll be, the less they will be likely to react to you, to other dogs, to other people. Because when my pack learns from me, is first and foremost, I watch, I understand, and I know what to do, and I'm always there, and I'll always deal with it. And so they give up a lot of that control that makes them so stressed and trapped, and that's why I can have 30 dogs in my van. And very rarely do I have incidents, and it occurs. I had a bull terrier get attacked. He started it, but still. His name was Walter, and he got a few nasty cuts around the elbow and on the back because he got a hold of this other dog's muzzle, because I muzzle dogs that could be reactive like that, but he was able to snap the middle connector that kept it on her nose and pulled it off of her, so she was able to then get him.
Oh my gosh.
So he kind of armed his own enemy. But I wish dogs learned through that kind of stuff, as in like, oh, that sucks, I don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
But
I get nervous with their groups of dogs, and I bring my dog into the situation because I'm not good at knowing what's going to happen. And so I'm not a fan of dog parks for that reason.
I usually tell people that tell me that you may know more about dog behavior than you realize.
Yeah.
But you're not giving yourself time.
Yeah.
To let go of the anxiety somewhat, and just quiet yourself as much as you can and watch. And if I looked like that, what would my intentions be?
Yeah.
I even tell people, go in the mirror and copy the dog. Like, if I did this, what am I going to do? And it kind of
and that looks like my dog.
What a coincidence! That's what my ex-wife calls me.
You dog.
My dog has no behavior problems. He's just stubborn. And a bulldog doesn't want to do something. They literally back up, like, no.
Yep. I call it the crawfish. If they're fast enough, they just
nope, not doing it.
Straight back. But yeah, so you if you give yourself time, you can predict and read what's going on, and the body language will come to you if you clear your mind enough. And that's how I learned. That's how everyone learns. And sometimes that requires some mistakes, which you don't want to make with your own dog, of course.
Yeah.
But and if you're really not comfortable and you're not be able to get a read, then that might be your instinct saying there's something off, even if you can't put your finger on it. And even if there's nothing wrong with the group and you were just being overly cautious, it's still smart to listen to yourself anyway. If you're not going to be comfortable with that group, no matter how friendly they are, you could wind up causing problems that don't need to be there. So just listen to yourself too. Just leave or back off and wait for some dogs with fewer numbers.
Yeah.
And then reassess.
Well, my dog's sort of iffy with other dogs, so I never know.
Yeah, bulldogs.
Yeah, he
they get ideas in their head, and then there's
he starts out okay.
They can get overwhelmed quick, and they don't give a lot of obvious signals. Sometimes it's hard to give expression when your face is all wrinkled. Yeah. Well, he put his left tooth out. I think it's time for us to go.
I don't know. Every time I look at a bulldog, I just expect it to say diabetes.
Oh, he's mixed with beagle, so he's not quite there. But
oh goodness,
yeah.
That's still a lot of extra skin on the
beagle.
So.
His face is not like as wrinkly as a bulldog, but he's got that stance.
got the code.
You know, beagles were the first dogs I had. Now I'm just trying to imagine it with like a bulldog stance, and I can't do it. I can't imagine it. It's
he's adorable. I found him on the side of the road.
Oh, poor dude.
If anyone wants one of our custom mugs,
I'm still waiting to get mine.
Yeah, just message us. We'll work something out.
Yeah,
there's our logo on it. But so what other situations do you?
My most frustrating one is dogs that will not let you touch their feet, and I mean, no way are you gonna touch this dog's feet. So I have a couple of them that I can't do their nails. They have to go to the vet and have 6 people do it. I've got one that
put them on the rack.
I've got one that from the shoulder down you cannot touch a thing. Not with the dryer, not with your hand, nothing. And it's like it's this.
And by the time Kobun came to me, the dog you met out there, my bull terrier, he wasn't desensitized. He was almost 6 months old, and he was really sensitive about his feet. Like just a couple of years ago, I tried to trim his nails, and I tried to hold him still and mess with his feet, and he goes into what I call warp speed.
Oh.
So the J.J. Abrams Star Trek.
Yeah.
When it goes into warp, it just goes and it's gone. That's Kobun. It goes from 0 to full speed and full power. I'm 265 pounds, and he's only 52 pounds. But I cannot hold him. He just will not. He will just round. He almost knocked me out. He smacked me in the head.
Oh my gosh!
Right in the face, right here.
Well, see,
like saw stars. I've been hit by grown men. I've been in serious fights, and that was one of the hardest hits I've ever taken.
That's because you took a hit from someone you love.
My
heart always hurts more when you love them.
Well, and that's a frustrating call when somebody calls and says the dog's never been groomed, and I say, "How old is it?" "Oh, 9 months." And I think, "Oh God."
Well, a lot of people think, "Oh, it's 9 months."
Yeah, it's young.
But
no,
this dog probably should have been. And that's something I wanted to talk to you about too. And I think I brought this up on the phone once before. I would recommend to groomers and vets and other professionals that have to handle dogs frequently, have an actual package or program on your website and offer it to people that have puppies that or dogs that are insecure at any age. Hey, I will give you 15-20 minutes out of my day, and you pay me like X amount of money, something discounted rate, so you can have a break and have a coffee, wherever it is, and have the puppy just be there, smell you, see you, be touched by you, and you touch them the way you think is appropriate, and do that frequently, at least every 2 weeks, or once a month minimum. And if you offer that package to tell people this is appropriate to help your dog that is going to need groom the rest of his life, for it to be a good experience for them and for it to be safe, and so you don't get sued. And it's so much, because it's really cheap insurance, and should be a fun time. You get to talk to the groomer, get to know them, and the puppy gets to have a good time, get the experience. You're grooming this dog to get groomed. Double use of grooming there.
I'm fortunate that being mobile, there's not a lot of distractions, and the TV is on just like home, and I think it's a lot easier to do it there than when you're in the shop and there's a lot of commotion and barking and other dogs.
I always thought that too, because you can control that environment, and it's the same environment every time. It just moves around. And so even if the dog moves and is stressed about a new home, that grooming mobile is the same every time. So it can be very comforting.
Do you have a shop as well as the mobile unit, or is it just a mobile unit?
Did you ever have a shop?
No, I worked in some shops, but no. My goal was always to go mobile.
It's good choice. It's very useful too, because elderly people have those type of dogs that need groomed.
I do a lot of people who work from home.
Yeah, it'd be worth it. I mean, you save for me as a customer, I don't have to drive and spend the fuel and time
twice.
And that'd be a great solution. I don't mind paying a premium for that.
And there's little things like when you work in a shop, you spend time getting the dog all beautiful. You put him in the cage, you wait for the owner. Dog pees in the cage, sits in it. You guys got to start over. Yeah.
And then what do you do? I mean, would you charge the client a little extra for the extra cleanup?
We
just eat it for the time. It's not a good business model.
No.
Not really. Pick up your dog on time, or I'm gonna start charging you more for every time it pisses.
Yeah, storage fee. No, I used to have clients complain about the dog coming back dirty. They had mud or they had burrs, and it's like, I'm taking your dog for a walk. It's proof of purchase.
You're not a groomer.
They're going to get
the receipt.
A little messy. And I told him, I was like, if you want me to wipe them feet off or take the burrs out, you're gonna have to pay me extra money for that. And I've had clients.
I gotta do that like 30 dogs. I mean, honestly, if 30 extra dogs, 30 extra fees, might be making some bank there.
I'm willing to do it, but I can't do it for free. I have other things to do, and my time's valuable. I had one time a client get upset because her Rottweiler kept pooping in my van. It would get everywhere, and I'd have to clean the dogs up then.
I deal with that.
and he would do it every time, and I would walk him, and I would take 10-minute walks with just him with dogs waiting in my van just to go potty. And I decided, well, if he doesn't poop on that 10-minute walk around the block, then he's gonna stay. He already got his walk. I can't have him doing that.
Nervous pooper? Or?
I don't probably. I think he held it to mark and stuff, and it just took longer than he expected for us to get to a walk and blah blah blah. And I had the client tell me I saw on the Ring camera that you only took him around the block and then left him. I mean, I'm paying for him to go for more of a walk than that. And I told her, well, clients don't pay me really for a walk; they pay for the dog's experience.
Yeah.
I don't exercise your dog. I warn you that at the beginning. It's like it's part of it, but it's not really the goal. If you need the dog exercise and only exercising, you call a dog walker.
Yeah.
But your dog is with him because of severe anxiety issues and reactivity, and so
yours is more. It's more therapy than it is actual. Just like physical therapy is therapy. It's not just exercise. Yeah. You want to exercise, you go to a gym and you put in an exercise. You put in the work to do it. Physical therapy is more or less just to kind of get yourself back into a state of normalcy.
I had a reminder that I don't charge by the hour.
Yeah.
I charge by the instance. So I came to pick your dog up, and that's what you paid for. He got picked up. It's either that or I charge you even more for the cleaning fees to clean my van every time.
Make your opinion based on how well the dog is doing now, not what you saw on camera.
Which we're doing. The dog improved tremendously.
Yeah.
And I told her, I was like, I would love to charge you hourly. If that's what you want, I'll be happy to do that, because I'm $200 an hour, and I have your dog. I have your dog for usually up to at least an hour, maybe more. Yeah. So fine. Instead of $30, now it's going to be $200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you can't have it both ways. It's either $200 because you want an hourly fee, and I just walk the dog for 10 minutes and I'll get my $30, or you have to pay me an extra $15 for cleaning fees and time to clean up your dog's poop, because it's guaranteed poop in my van every time. So you just, I'm a business. That's how it has to work.
So the other day we were talking about cage aggression, and I don't deal with that in the mobile. I can bring 2 dogs up there at once. So I just put a dog bed down. But in the shop, if we had one like that, we used to drop a loop of a leash down the top of the wire cage and get a hold of it, and then just keep feeding it through the front till we could put it out. Is that the only way to do that?
It depends. For me, if the dog's being reactive to the crate door, I'll usually open it slightly.
Yeah.
And if they try to come out, I'll close it gently and keep opening it until they calm down.
Yeah.
And then I'll loop them and get them out.
Okay.
Because most dogs, if the barrier's gone, their reactivity goes away.
Okay. The ones I saw do it at the shop were the chargers. They were like charging the gate.
Yeah, if you get the impression,
get your fingers near there.
Yeah, you have to listen to your instincts. If you get the impression that if you open that gate in any capacity, it's just going to continue to fight past the door. Yeah, that's the best way to do it. Get the loop through.
Call the owner.
I've had dogs not want to go into crates and really freak out, and I'll have to put a long loop leash on them and put the leash through the crate, and then put my foot on the crate and then use it like a pulley, just to kind of shove them in there, and as I pull on and it kind of pulls them straight in. Yeah, you got to do what you got to do.
Well, at least once you know it.
Really complicated.
Well, next time you don't put them in the crate, but we don't know until we go to get them out.
That's true.
And they eat your hand off. So.
Yeah, you gotta watch out for that.
Yeah. You can't really groom effectively with one hand, I don't think, unless you're really trained. I'm sure there might be a one-handed groomer out there who's a total Ash Williams badass. But
if you have one hand that's a prosthetic, it doesn't matter how much the dog bites. And you could just let him bite the hand. I'm like, Poopsy, keep chewing on that lefty.
Yeah, but then that takes away the whole notion of biting the hand that feeds you. I mean,
she's not feeding him. She's pulling hair out of their ears and stuff.
Yeah,
I'd bite her too. Yeah. You ever see that, Tommy?
Yeah.
What?
There's certain dogs you can't trim the hair in the ears. They have to take a hemostat, which is a scissor that has a locking mechanism.
I do not.
It's not a scissor, but I've seen people do it.
It's terrible.
They'll use a hemostat, which is like a needle nose plier with a locking mechanism, and they grab the hair and lock it, and they twist it, and they rip it out.
I don't do that. That was.
I've seen dogs get that done. They're like, whatever.
I'm
like,
school.
What
My mom used to do that.
What do you do?
I put a ton of ear powder in there. It's like gymnast chalk, so it keeps the oil dried up, and then I just take little pieces at a time until I get it out there. So they
I've seen that too.
And I rub their other ear while I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But
I don't have any experience with dog grooming at all, because all the dogs we had were outside dogs, hunting dogs. all that jazz. The most it came to grooming was, I mean, I'm sure my parents clipped their nails. I never watched them do it. Other than that, it was throwing them in the tub for a bath, and that was the end of it. We didn't do any of the trimming or anything like that.
Well, I grew up in a household that raised standard poodles for show, so we had lots of grooming going on. But so now I have a dog that only needs
grooming going on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mama. Little Mama.
I'm gonna groom this little dog.
Well, somebody invented the sling, and I use that a lot.
Actually,
those are great.
I have that blue thing up there is a sling.
Okay.
For Coven,
with the holes in it,
because he goes into warp speed. Yeah, and at that he can try, but it's a little foolish. He'll do the handle bears.
Honestly, you should just call that going 0 to plaid. I mean,
and no, that reminds me of Elon Musk and.
How does that 0 to plaid? That it makes me immediately think Spaceballs.
Yeah, it did him too, and that's why he has plaid speed on his Teslas, and he ruined it for me.
Why do you got to ruin everything for me now? Like,
hey, misery loves company. If I'm going to suffer, you have to. We have one mind. Yeah, Tommy and I met at college when I was at ICB. That's just to answer that question.
Is
We're
that
both
still
radio
around?
guys.
Yeah, it's still around.
They're more of a podcast school now, believe it or not.
Oh, wow. Well, that makes sense.
Well, I mean,
that's where media's headed.
You got to change with the times. I mean, they still had 8-track players when we were there and showing us how to operate those radio stations.
Are you old enough to know that?
My family's owned some 8-tracks. Thank you very much.
Well,
we had the traditional big, tall, silver stereo recorder, album player, 8-track player.
No, we learned to edit on initially VHS editors with dual decks.
Okay.
Which really did help us to understand the program.
Okay.
Even though it was very much out of date even at that time. We were in school in like 2005 and 6.
Yeah.
I watched on the Drew Carey show today, Drew Barrymore show today, they had 2 young girls on there, and they were asking them to make a phone call with an old phone. It was hilarious.
Oh boy.
I'd seen one like that. I think it was Kimmel, where they had them trying to, like, how do you address an envelope?
Yeah.
Like you're going to send it to somebody and people are like,
they know how to do that? Oh my gosh.
Oh no, somebody actually wrote their letter on the back of it. And then, like, they had no idea where to put the return address and the send address. And
with these idiot on the streets and kids don't know anything these days.
Yeah.
Think about it this way. Most of those people aren't quite as stupid as they appear. They're under stress to perform, so they're not thinking
they just weren't born in the era where these things existed.
So I cut people a lot of slack because I know that when I've been on TV I've had brain farts. I'm like, man, I'm not that stupid.
Well
yeah, I feel that way when I'm trying to do their things. I can't do on my phone.
Well, to be fair, one of those people, one of the kids, their grandmother was there, and she asked him if he was a fucking moron, like, right on the television. And he's like, what?
If the shoe fits.
You must have quit? No, that's the glove. My bad.
Yeah.
So is it safe to say that you got your start in grooming because y'all raised the show poodles and all that? Is that, like, really what started it for you?
I didn't start till I was 59.
Well,
what?
Never too
late. You're more than 59 now?
Oh yeah.
Oh. I hope it looked half that good.
I started mobile at 59. I started grooming in 2014. But no, I did a lot in between there. I was in mechanical engineering in college, and then I was a flight attendant for almost 20 years. And then when I got laid off, I did a whole bunch of other things, and I had terrible bosses, and just said, I just want to be with animals all day. What can I do and not starve to death? And mobile grooming was it. So
why you're so fun to talk to with all this experience.
It sounds like not only can she groom your dog, but she can groom your car and she can groom your plane at the same time.
It comes in handy because with mobile, maintenance and repair is constant. So yeah, I have done a lot on there myself.
I'm like this close to being a certified mechanic just because I can't afford to pay one.
Necessity, yep. I've had to do a lot,
Well, that's something that Tommy and I bring up a lot, is that when I was in college, all my classmates knew me as the know-it-all. I'm the insufferable know-it-all. He always has a story for everything. It's like, sorry for being interested.
I mean, he was Jewish at the time. I just called him the Jew of all trades, but I mean,
Oi.
Yeah. I was trying to think of something to say like that.
Oi, bae. You're a funds.
You must sugar now.
You must sugar. Oh, that's definitely Tommy.
No, that's Tommy, like that. That's like that reminds me. Just real quick, that one dude you did the commercial for, where you kept doing it as a Russian, and you were totally mispronouncing the name.
Yeah, I was calling him Magulax because it was funnier, and it was Magalax. But
yeah, but he liked it though. I mean, he actually was. Didn't he actually ask you to if he could use that and whatnot?
Yeah, I sent him the commercial.
Yeah, so there you go.
It was one of my very first projects I made at school.
Yeah.
We were given newspaper clippings, and it would all happen to be from Hillsborough because that's where our teacher was from, and we had to pick a company and to make a commercial for it.
Oh, okay.
So it started with a radio commercial.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was good. It was a tire service.
Yeah.
And now podcasting for dogs.
None of them click though.
Not
a single subscription from dogs.
None of us thought we'd end up where we did.
I don't know. I'm sure somebody's dog's up on the computer right now hitting like and subscribe, just
click
on at the mouse.
Trying to get random comments.
Trying to give their owner every hint that they need to call you. Just, I need help.
Need help. Call Captain, please. It's funny. I never really cared too much about what my future held. I was more concerned about making sure I did all the right things now.
Yeah.
And I just went with whatever flow, occurred.
Yeah.
And just really, this is me getting back to my roots.
Okay.
Because I started with behavior work when I was 10.
Oh.
And kind of was a hobby, and I was raised by PhD behavioralists and conditioned and taught by them and by my mom, and they all told me, don't do it as a living, you'll never make enough money at it.
Oh no, life has changed.
Then 2008 is like, I'm not making a living now, I might as well just do something.
Right. At least I have skills with that. Let me fail with something I like,
Yeah.
This will be my 15th anniversary in August.
Oh, great.
Officially.
Some people just fall into it.
It'll be my 37th anniversary in August. That's all. Just gonna throw that out there.
Well,
figure that math out.
Caesar started as a dog groomer. Did you know that?
He should have stayed a dog groomer.
He worked in a dog grooming shop and lived in the basement because he came as an illegal. And he was so good with the aggressive ones that then he went on to, I guess, wash cars, limousines for famous people, and that's how I met Will Smith and
Jada Pinkett.
Yeah, went from there. So
yeah,
was an accident.
I have complicated thoughts and feelings about Caesar.
Yeah,
as a human being, I think he's a good man, but he's not qualified to deal with dogs. Not the capacity he was thrust into in the public eye.
Yeah,
and I would have more respect for him if he, from that moment, actually got real education, because he definitely has talent.
Yeah,
but he has terrible judgment.
Oh,
terrible judgment. Like, I can't tell you from the beginning when I started watching his series when it first came out. I was like, why did you do that? That dog clearly warned you.
Oh yeah.
And you got bit because you disrespected that dog and ignored its warnings. And so those kind of instances, like, he's causing more harm than he needs to.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously not intentionally. Once again, I don't think he's an evil man. He definitely has his heart in the right place. But like I said, I lose a lot of respect for people that don't see they're making judgment problems and then do what they can to learn what the judgment problem was and learn from it and change it, and then get other education from other experts. That's what I do, constantly expanding my experience.
Do you find that a lot of people, this is what I see, the dog doesn't do something they want and they go to obedience school, which
yeah, we have an episode about that.
It means to teach you to sit and stay when you're there, but it's not going to solve whatever's going on.
With dog training and with what I have to do, we can't do it for you.
Yeah.
Not all the time. I'm more hands-on. I'll touch the dog and handle the dog and show by example. This can work and this does work and this is how it works.
Yeah.
Trainers don't do that, and I think they should more often.
Yeah.
But our goals are different. I'm not a replacement of a trainer, and trainers are certainly not a replacement for me.
Yeah.
We have two different goals. So I'll tell a client to do something that's totally opposite of what a trainer would. And neither of us are wrong.
Yeah.
Just for what we need from the dog first, this is what you should do.
One is for manners and one is the psychologist. It just isn't the same.
Yeah. Well, the way I explain it is that dog behavior is the foundation of the house. It's the stability, the strength. You're making sure you're making it without cracks and it's solid and has all the functioning things. You're laying foundations for plumbing and wiring and all the other functionalities that are to come. But right now we're making sure it's level, it's stable, it's predictable, it's the shape we want it. So to me, that's your relationship, the stability, learning communication and that connection, and learning the way that you will convey new information to the dog and new behaviors and the way the dog responds to you, and you listen to that and that bond. And now with that stable mind that you have and stable mind that dog has and stable communication you have together, on that foundation you build the training. And the training is all the functions. The waterproofing, the doors, the windows, the microwave, the refrigerator. So they're both incredibly important.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to build the house before you have a foundation, it's not going to be very successful. So I'd prefer people to call me first for their puppy to teach them socialization and teach them basic communication, relationship, and respect, mutual respect between the dog and the people. And then on that, you should then take that to training.
My dogs were always the character in the class.
You got the bulldogs. So.
Well, I had what was the first one? He was just a little mix, a little bit of Cocker Spaniel and I don't know, Border Collie maybe. And he thought
like he was,
no, he was a great dog, but he thought he was 900 pounds. So any big dog that went around the ring, he was like just crazy, and he got nicknames in the class.
Isn't that like a cliche of like all small dogs is they automatically think that they're the biggest dog in the yard and they're God, and you should bow before their infinite might?
I don't know.
Well, small dogs act overcompensatory. That's a word. They overcompensate because they're small, and they know they're small, but they're also very brave.
Yeah.
So they know that because of their size, they can't wait for something to become an apparent threat. If something's unstable or could be a threat, they're gonna overblow it and push it around now
throw the first punch.
To get. It's just kind of like if you have an engine with very low power in your car, to get up that hill, you're gonna have to rev it up and go fast at it. You got to charge it. You got to be dedicated to get the momentum to go over it. Little dogs do the same thing to get the momentum and power and psychological force behind them because they don't have the physical force to convince a dog not to harm them or to go do something else or get away from them. So that's why they overcompensate.
On all those breeds that everybody says to be careful of, and as soon as I get a call, somebody says I have a Chihuahua, I ask them, is it friendly? And I've never had a bad Chihuahua, and I've never had a bad pit bull.
I know a lot of great Chihuahuas.
Yeah.
A lot of great Chihuahuas.
I take that back. I had one pit bull that had an issue, but all the rest have been great.
Most dogs are great. I'd actually venture to say they all are. Just some have learned some bad coping mechanisms, just like some people. And unlike people, they're pretty much always innocent. Like even if the dog that bit me in the basement this last week, totally innocent, just scared. It just wasn't trying to hurt me. If he wanted to, he would get torn me up way worse.
This is the only one's ever scared me. I was standing between the table and the wall, and it was a large pit, and he just started barking nonstop. Like I could hear him saying, "Try it, lady." So I called the owner and said, "You need to come up here because he's going to go for it."
Yeah, we should have an episode about bite inhibition too, because I had someone ask me, "What is that?" Because I had to tell them, "Well, this dog had no bite inhibition at all."
Oh.
Well, I know you wanted to do a whole episode on biting itself, so you could we could probably incorporate that into it.
True.
On that,
cover everything.
Different types of bites, what they mean, how you should take them.
A nice dog that wants to bite yawns. Do you see that?
Yeah, that's stress relief.
Yeah, they'll yawn like, I want to bite you, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, it's a priming readiness and trying to relieve their own stress. Yeah, yawning is often a sign of stress with dogs.
So when a dog's on the table and the things that I've learned to watch for, you tell me if there's things that I don't know about. I see that yawning. I see the tense skin. I see the side eye. That kind of
foot
thing.
Position change.
Okay, that's not one I know of.
So sometimes the foot position, if they bring their left foot back towards you, it's what usually happens before side eye.
Okay.
And it's their readiness to pounce or to turn.
Okay. That's a good one.
If the tail gets tense
and
tight, either tight down or tight in any direction, it's just really stiff. A lot of times that's a sign of readiness or stress.
Okay.
I don't know how often you're seeing the tail. It depends on the size of the dog and fur and how they're built.
The hardtails are the stubs.
Yeah.
There's some strength in those.
That Boston Terrier mix probably has a corkscrew, doesn't it?
Yeah, almost. It's just a little stub like a bulldog.
Thumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, those things are strong.
Yeah.
That's true.
Schnauzers and Yorkies, you can't hardly push that thing out to trim under it.
Sometimes you get around that butthole.
Yep.
Gotta trim it up. Yeah, I mean,
gotta give the dog a Brazilian.
I think by this time you've had 10 years in the grooming business. I thought I heard a dog yelp.
Oh.
But 10 years in the grooming business, I'd imagine there's not much more I can teach you about what to look for to know earlier than not.
Every dog's a new adventure. You never know.
Every dog is. That's true. No matter how many years I've been in business.
Between the two of you, have you guys done any kind of collaboration before? Like you sit in during some of these grooming sessions and kind of give pointers or anything like that?
No, but I always wanted him to do a groomer seminar, kind of show us some things.
Yeah, we've discussed, that's why I kind of asked you to be on here, is just to get things started.
Yeah.
And talk about the grooming aspects. So do you ever use the licky mat or anything else like that? Like something that sticks to the wall, or you just put it in their muzzle?
Lots of peanut butter.
Hold on.
My fingers or
what in the Samuel L. Jackson is a licky mat?
So that's why Tommy's here, in case there's people watching and don't know anything about dogs. He'll ask the questions.
Yeah, because I literally don't know anything.
That's your radio school training to ask questions.
I would think for one that is mildly distracting, and that would work. But if it was one that just doesn't want it done, I don't think it's gonna be enough.
So licky mat is usually made of silicone. It's just a pad and has suction cups on the back, and it has texture on the other side that can hold anything like cheese or peanut butter, and you cram it in that, and it makes the dog want to keep licking to get all the peanut butter or cheese out of it. And you can put it on the wall of your bathtub or somewhere.
Sounds
so
like
dogs that want to bite you
butt to clean.
Well, if you just let the dog keep going at it, it'll be plenty clean enough.
I mean, I suppose that's fair.
And then use a scrubby brush like a normal human being.
I do some service dogs that work with hospitals, and I just wondered, how much do you think the dog internalizes the grief from patients and procedures?
Oh, that varies from dog to dog.
Okay.
I know some dogs that would be very difficult on them to handle people around them that are grieving.
Yeah.
Most dogs, if they grow up around that environment, like some of these dogs do, I think they get kind of accustomed in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, they still know there's grief, and dogs don't typically know how to handle human grief.
Yeah.
In the dog world, the reason why dogs wander off when they're old and sick is so they don't disrupt the pack. So when clients ask me, should I let my dog see when I put this their friend down?
Yeah.
And because I want them to have closure, know that they're gone and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I really wish dogs, felt that way, thought that way. It'd be a lot more easy.
I don't think
but they don't. The last act of love the older dogs often do in a wild situation is they'll wander off to hide, so that they can die in peace, and that the pack doesn't know for sure they're dead. The pack knows they're just gone. They'll look for them, they'll sniff for them, they'll grieve the fact they're not there anymore, and then they'll move on. But if they actually see the death of their pack member, especially if it's a higher up, like a parent figure in the pack, because that's really what a leader is in the pack, that can be devastating. That can cause trauma and anxieties and issues that can last for years with the pack, with certain individuals.
Is there a second in charge, or do they make that decision after the fact?
There is no real pecking order in a domestic dog pack.
Okay.
There are sometimes certain individuals that take on a bigger role of leadership, and certain dogs need a certain role of leadership that leads the example of how should we feel and think about what happens, what's stressful, what's scary, how to deal with visitors. And so when that individual's gone, they no longer have that beacon to look to for how do we feel. And then they can have a lot of behavioral issues rise because of the lack of function in the pack.
Okay.
And that's why I tell clients, well, everyone that owns more than 2 dogs should definitely watch how they function together and know when one leaves what their function basically was, and you're going to have to try to pick up that slack.
Okay.
And or teach the other dogs how to look at each other now. Well, now you need to look at your brother, and you need to look at your sister, and you need to look to me.
Yeah.
And together we'll get through this. We'll understand how to function again.
And people, clients, and even one of my family members that treats their dog not like a dog, I sort of think it's better to treat them like a dog.
Yeah, Tommy and I talked about that, I think, too, but I don't know if it's an episode that got ruined. We've recorded probably 20 episodes, and we only have 12 left.
But we've had some issues before, but talked about humanizing the dog and whatnot.
Anthropomorphizing.
Those dogs seem more nervous to me when they're over babied like that.
So to me, it's a fine balance. And it varies from person to person, to dog to dog. But generally, I feel that if you truly think of the dog like a human being and you treat it as such, you're disrespecting the animal, because that's not who they are. That's like me being mad at you or treating you like a llama or like a polar bear. And well, why don't you act like a polar bear? Why this doesn't make any sense? They learn this way. Why can't you? Well, that's disrespectful to you.
That not loving. Like you're doing reverse Tusk right there. I mean,
but it's to ignore the nature of who somebody is for your own feelings is deeply disrespectful and disruptive, to say the least. And it means you're going to be blind to a lot of important information. It means you're not going to communicate properly and appropriately, and you're not going to listen to boundaries and other things that all individuals, in my opinion, man or beast, deserve to have. Like I was talking about Caesar, he crossed a lot of boundaries that he didn't have to with dogs, and they said, "Hey, I'm not comfortable with that."
Yeah, and
he corrects them for it, or ignores their warnings. That's deep. You might as well be like, "You dog," So, as humans, we anthropomorphize. That's what we do. It's how we connect with things. There's people that get connections with their cars, with certain sweaters. I mean, we connect with things. We see them kind of as living beings, even when they're not. It's just how we bond and think about stuff. But a rational mind needs to balance it out. And we have to see, well, first and foremost, this is an animal. Secondly, it's a dog. Thirdly, it's a dog I know. And fourthly, it's kind of like my kid.
Yeah.
And to me, if you put things in that order of importance, you're likely to come out at a balanced level of that, where they should be seen and loved as if they were your child.
Yeah.
And respected as if they're an animal and a dog, because that's what they are.
Yeah.
And then taught like they're the dog you know, the dog you named. And so that'll really help you. And I tell a lot of clients this, and it helps them kind of understand what they should do in certain situations and how they should think. Because a lot of what I do is teach people how not to waste their emotional energy and to waste their physical energy and to let their heart and their worries get away with them instead of what can I do right now?
Yeah.
How much damage control can I do, if nothing else? I have to have peace with what might happen, and do my best to make what should happen properly. Yeah. I'm here to steer the boat, and if I'm drugged down into the pit, nobody's there to steer. We have to rise above and see what's really going on, and prioritize ourselves and our feelings and our thoughts, and not let any emotions we don't need come into play, and just follow a procedure to help.
And sometimes I think you get that emotional because this is a being that you know won't always be here. And so you know your time is limited. It's like how you would treat your friend if they had terminal cancer.
Yep.
It's different.
Yeah, and I have compassion and respect for my clients that have those feelings. I acknowledge them. It's like, I know, my dogs don't live nearly enough time.
Yeah.
They just don't. And my wife and I both pre-mourn our dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, we do. They'd be 2 years old and be like, we have maybe 10 more years left. And we think about how we're going to feel when they're gone, and we worry about that. And so I try to draw it back and be like, yes, time is short. and that means we shouldn't waste it worrying about the end.
But that's the beauty of having animals, is knowing the time is short and living for now.
Yep. Learn how to deal with loss. You learn how to accept new individuals instead of comparing them to the previous ones and wishing to clone them. This dog is someone else now, and that's okay.
I've had so much loss that the lot behind me was for sale, and I was talking to my dad and said I couldn't see any reason to buy it, and he said, well, you need it for a pet cemetery.
Oh,
said, you're right.
Ouch. Wow.
You don't want to go down that road, Sometimes dead is better.
Well, she asked me why I moved out here. I was like, I couldn't afford an acre in Dayton, and I needed an acre for my dogs. At least, let's be honest, minimum 1 acre.
Would you want an acre in Dayton?
I would. I love Dayton.
So you need a bulldog. He doesn't want an acre. He wants a lawn chair.
Well, I needed room for the garden and for the dogs to run and play and for us to enjoy some nature.
The fire pit and everything else.
Yeah, we love the fact that when we moved in here, we don't use any insecticides or anything like that, and the birds can eat what they want without being poisoned, and the bugs, and we just love all the different creatures that live here. So that's what I enjoy. So who else you got there? What's going on?
Well, I wasn't sure what you were going to talk about, so I just had all kinds of stuff on here.
We try to mostly stay on the grooming path, or at least dog behavior stuff.
Yeah.
I don't mind going on some tangents like we just talked about.
Well, I think you see a lot of different behaviors grooming with older dogs, like seniors. There's something that groomers deal with called dryer seizures. At least that's what we call it. Usually if the dog's over 14, sometimes you'll be drying them and they'll start to scream and bark nonstop, and it looks glazed over, like they're not sure where they are.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's a kind of a bit of dementia or what that is, but
it can be a sign of dementia, but it is a type of seizure because it's a sensory overload.
Yeah.
So the nervous system gets overloaded and the parasympathetic nervous system takes over.
Yeah.
And they just glaze over and they go into a panic.
Yeah.
And so it's their brain stops and just they get stuck. And sometimes they can even fall over and do like a jog on their side, like they're running.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So that's telling me they're just being way overstimulated.
Yeah.
Their brain just can't handle all the input at their age.
Yeah. I kind of said to the owner, it's like taking someone who's 98 years old in a nursing home and putting them in a hot tub. It's just,
or putting them in a hair dryer.
Yeah, in a hair dryer.
Giant whole body hair dryer.
Yeah.
What's going on? Yeah, give me my tapioca.
It's weird. It just snaps. And now I know if that one does that, try it on low. If that doesn't work, then I have a hand one that, depending on the breed. But
I always thought they should have like mufflers that go down the pipe, something that reduces turbulence.
Yeah.
So the air comes out quieter and smoother.
Yeah.
And then you have the motor somewhere way off that's insulated, so it's not so noisy.
Behind the wall in the back, so it's just a hose. But I think it's just the pressure of it and the
pressure and the heat and stuff. Yeah. It could be what it is. That's interesting though.
Yeah.
I do remember seeing dogs do that now that you mention it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd asked the vet, but because it happens like it does, they don't see that, so they weren't sure what that was. But
exactly, yeah, I've seen that before with some groomers I worked with.
About 90% of the time, I think it indicates that things are almost coming to the end.
It is a symptom, like I said, of dementia issues. Like the brain can't rationally deal with it like it usually would, and it just so the parasympathetic just takes over. But yeah, that's I've literally been in the field so long that I've forgotten a lot about dog behavior that most people never even known. Doing this podcast, it brings up a lot of memories. I'm like, oh yeah. By the way, I've seen dogs do that.
Yeah.
I mean, just a lifetime of stuff crammed in your head.
Well, I never heard of that. And the first time it happened, I was like, oh my God, what's happening to this dog?
So I wonder if he killed it.
Yeah.
Well, you know that there's been groomers at PetSmart have killed dogs in the hair dryer, overheated them.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
especially dogs like mine, the brachial.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not always just a bulldog thing. A brachial or the laryngeal paralysis can be very subtle, and the clients don't even know.
Yeah.
And the groomer doesn't know, and you put them in there, and it's really hot, and they get stressed, and it swells, and their throat collapses.
See, and that's
oh my God, that just sounds totally awful and whatnot. I mean,
you looking it up?
No, I'm not looking it up.
No, I thought you were looking it up.
And that's something else that I don't have to deal with that because they're all hand dried. They have to be.
See, that's something I would like about the mobile groomers. It's not a big conveyor belt.
No.
Of just dogs being stacked up and not watched.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, I have a 7-inch LCD screen and a night vision camera to watch my dogs while I drive.
Yeah.
So I can make sure everyone's safe.
Yeah.
I mean,
because I just don't like them being unattended ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
agreed. Yeah.
get a mobile groomer, people. don't go to the big
Not that
manufacturers.
the shop is bad, but
it's not as good.
Yeah. The only thing it's
don't go to PetSmart.
I mean, I wouldn't after you talked about all that stuff. Like,
well, they push their groomers. Corporate pushes them.
Yeah, I don't blame the groomers
to crank
as much.
them out, and I've seen in shops people walking away from the table with that loop on their neck, and I have clients that have lost dogs like that.
Yeah,
there's no way I would never walk away from that table.
Well, I worry about that too when I tie up dogs in the back of my van. I always make sure that it's tied up to a collar that won't get bound.
Yeah.
And that the swivel works. I check it every time. And then I watch them.
Yeah.
Because even if a dog strangles himself for a short period of time and you get to them, it can cause edema, which is fluid on the lungs. So their tongue can swell up afterwards, their throat can swell up afterwards, their lung can fill with water.
So eyes can pop out their head.
So even though it looks like you saved them from strangulation, there can be after effects. So if your dog does get strangled in any way, I highly recommend taking it, even if they seem fine, to an emergency vet or your vet immediately. Because they'll look for the petechia in the eyes, blood vessels burst, things under the tongue. They'll know to look for signs that there's internal issues, because it could be really subtle and it can suddenly take your dog.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, like I was saying, so that loop, they get temporarily quickly hung.
Yeah.
Blood vessels, things break that feed the brain. They don't know it.
And you get different types of loops. There's some that are more like a noose. I will never use that. That's looped like a leash.
And I like the open loop that has the slider that comes down, because it'll want to open up.
And it's rubber. So it's pretty, you can't even get it tight, really. And then I have a quick disconnect. Something's a big deal, then just yank it and they're off.
Yeah.
Because, that always worried me. Because at the shops, I saw people answering the phone and saying, "Hey, watch my dog," and no.
No, I understand the temptation.
Yeah.
And sometimes the feeling like you're required to do that because you're juggling all these balls. But that we've discussed this also, that I make sure I don't take on too many dogs that I can't give quality of work to. Anymore. I won't dilute myself that much. Like how much I'm tempted to, or how much business requires it. It's just not going to happen. I'd rather lose the money than lose a dog.
Well, and starting as late as I did in life with my mobile grooming, I can't do as many dogs as somebody in their 20s. So I make the same money doing less dogs in mobile than I would have in the shop. So that's another
and that's my
factor.
solution too, is if I'm in demand enough, I'll just have my prices a little bit.
Yeah.
But I always talk to people, like I try to, even on my website, it says, well, if you have financial issues, call us anyways.
Yeah.
We'll work something out. I don't like, I won't hold back my services from somebody's purely because of finances.
Yeah.
To me, I consider what I do to be life-saving and life-improving for people and their dogs. And I really don't want money to be in the way for that. I need to pay my bills. I have to eat and so on, but I'm not trying to get rich doing this.
I have neighbors with an aggressive dog. It's a pit bull.
I need to give you some cards and brochures.
Well, I had to build a $2,000 fence because it was coming up their firewood and it was halfway across my fence. And I talked to him about it. Nothing changed. So I thought, I can't go on vacation knowing this dog might come over and get my dog.
This is one of the first things we did here. It took us 2 years, but I slowly built and installed fencing on. So we have the entire acre fenced.
Yeah.
We finally got the gate posts dug and the gate hung on like a week before Thanksgiving in 2020.
Okay.
So that was one of the first things we did, because we had some aggressive loose dogs floating around the neighborhood.
Oh, wow.
And we, of course, just in case a pack member or client dog gets out that's boarding, that we have the extra buffer so they can't just run out Route 40.
No.
And for our own dogs to be able to safely be out and learn off-leash behaviors and stuff.
Well, I try to tell them, if your dog attacks me or my dog, the shelter's going to come and they're going to kill your dog.
No one wants that.
Some, incentive, but they can't even let somebody in their house without putting the dog in a cage. So.
Yeah, I had Dayton City Council call me on speakerphone about that one mail carrier that got killed, or the woman No, not mail carrier. It was a woman that got killed in a neighborhood, and the mail carriers had already decided not to deliver for like 6 months mail to that neighborhood because these 2 loose dogs.
Oh, wow.
They're always out there. A woman called police multiple times,
Mm.
and the city council called me and like, well, what can we do about this with dog behavior? I was like, well, the people keep leaving their dog out, and wherever dog marks pees, that's their place. So as far as the dogs were concerned, that woman and all those mail carriers were invaders.
Wow.
To their territory. So there was enough phone calls in. The post office itself reported it to you guys.
Wow.
This is a failure of enforcement of laws you already have, and lack of laws that are common sense that would prevent this from happening again.
My dog got past me, and
dogs get loose sometimes.
Went past the mailman. I was actually repairing the door at the time, and he walked up and he got past me, and he goes right to his ankles and acts like teeth and everything, but didn't do anything. Then he backs up and he does the same thing.
It's
and
an ankle sweeper. He's trying to hurt him away.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Mail everywhere. So I was worried, what's going to happen. He's going to report me. So
your bulldog is like,
So I don't think he would actually get someone unless they were hurting me in my house.
Right.
But I drove over to meet the mailman to make sure he wasn't going to do anything. And he said, well, I'm supposed to carry mace, but I don't. I said, well, I'm glad. And he wasn't concerned about it. So,
yeah.
But it was raining, and the door closed and locked when he got out. So I'm trying to run with him, holding on to his collar. He's short. And hoping I had a spare key to get back in the house. But it was probably 15 minutes. He was still looking for that mailman. Going from fence to fence.
I almost had him. He has a taste of blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a meter reader for a long time for DP&L. So I know how to. I've been going to strangers' homes and inside of strangers' homes for more than 20 years.
So I walk for exercise. If you encounter a stray dog, what do you do when you're just out walking?
Oh, well, that depends on a few factors, like your age, your size, if you have dogs with you, how the dog's behaving.
It's just me just walking in my neighborhood.
Yeah. So usually, let's just assume the dog is aggressive. So if you're concerned about the dog's behavior and it's coming towards you, you should just yell, no, stop.
Okay.
And if that doesn't work and they come at you, dogs are always predicting that it's kind of like when you're throwing a basketball. You throw it at an arch and you expect it to land here. So the dogs are thinking of attacking you, and they're predicting you to be where you're at. And so if you run away, they can adjust their arch and keep going after you. But if they come after you in mid-arch and you quickly lunge forward at them, they have to suddenly adjust and change and attack sooner, and they're not likely to do that. You throw a monkey wrench in their plans.
Okay.
So if you really think your dog's going to get you and you can't outrun it to a safe place, so this is where judgment comes in, then you're going to want to yell no and charge quickly at it a few steps.
Okay.
Because they don't expect you to do that. They expect you to run away.
I don't expect me to
hold your ground. And
you never know, you might.
So, but if they're playing attacking you here or chasing you, and all of a sudden you're confronting them and they have to put on the brakes and readjust their attack, they're 10 times more likely to stop and back off and reevaluate and give you time to get away.
Okay.
And if you have anyone that's nearby that is the owner, trying to get them to detain the dog, and you just keep going through that pace of charging them a little bit and keep your chest facing them and look down your nose at them. Keep yourself tall.
Okay.
No, back. This is aggressive behavior. This is defensiveness on your end.
Okay.
And the less you act like a victim, the more you act like a ready, willing participant, but not one that wants to fight. So you neutralize. So I'm not here to fight you. I'm not straight up attacking you, but I'm willing to lunge at you.
Okay.
And I'm not going to run from you. I'm not going to fawn. I'm not going to faint. Fight, flight, faint, fawn. Those are the only responses fear has.
Okay.
And the dog doesn't expect you to make a rational choice in that situation. So that's the best shot you got.
Because when I was talking
and constantly look for a place to get into or out of the way if you can. And know that if you think you can outrun that dog or not.
Probably not.
Yeah, and most of the time you're not going to outrun a dog.
When I was talking to you on the phone, there was a fence and there were dogs, trying to jump up at the fence. And I didn't know if they could leap over the fence. And
in that case, I would usually get as far away to the other side
That's what I
just
did.
swiftly get out of the way, or turn around and just go somewhere out of sight.
I went the other way, and then there was a loose dog.
Don't antagonize if you can help it.
Oh,
I didn't put my back to the loose dog.
Where do you live? East Side?
No, I'm Meadowdale.
Meadow? I don't know that place. Is that in Huber?
No. You know where Hair Arena used to be?
Oh, you're out there.
No,
That's the ghetto.
Okay.
It's a weird spot of Dayton. It's not quite ghetto, but it's not quite country. It's like some weird in between. Yeah. Tommy,
should I be offended?
I don't know. Did you make the neighborhood that way?
I used to go to Hair Arena all the time, so yeah, I know that area and whatnot.
Nowhere else but Hera. That
right.
place is so run down. Dayton really missed an opportunity to keep that place in business.
Yeah.
Saw a lot of great shows at the Hera, so it was a good place.
Famous bands played there.
Mm-hmm.
That that's not dog behavior, Tommy.
Yeah.
Well,
last time I was there, there was a concert I did not go to, but I was in a hotel in Florida when Ted Nugent attacked me. And when he came to Hair Arena the next week, I flyered the whole parking lot.
Isn't Ted Nugent like an extreme right-wing wacko?
He hates animal rights activists, which I am. And
Ted Nugent can suck a dick.
I was in an elevator, and I had a T-shirt on like that, and he started doing this to me in my back. And,
what a piece of shit!
Yeah, he was an idiot.
Okay, I thought I heard wrong when you said Ted Nugent attacked you.
No, he did.
She means it.
At first, I was like, "Wait, what?" Like, okay, and then like, "Oh no! Oh, he really? Oh,
yeah, he really did."
You know how you get Ted Nugent and people like him to attack you? Just mention basic compassion.
Yeah, that's it. He's nuts. There's no doubt.
Hey man, love your brother. Come in. You woke piece of shit.
That's okay. I got him back all night.
Oh my!
Wow.
He's not very smart. Yeah, I kept calling him. He kept answering the phone and waking up his baby. And yeah, I called him every hour on the hour all night long.
Of course, he's a breeder.
Yeah, just what we need more of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the only advantage they have is trad wives that they can keep pumping babies out with. But anyway.
He's making some comment about, he said, "My boy, no dog." I don't know what he's talking about, but it was Ingrid Newkirk. It was a quote that she made in Reader's Digest. It was a PETA quote, meaning
those people think you're all monoliths. Like, if one says it, they all think it.
Yeah. Well, and what she meant was a boy is a dog, is a pig, is a cow. They all suffer, that they feel pain. That's what the quote was. And then when I figured out what it was, I thought, well, I don't have to take this.
The way I see it is that even though I don't agree with PETA's overall tactics and approach, we need extremists like that to pull the other extremists kind of a little further that way.
Yeah. Well, and they got attention. It was a starting point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are animals. We are great apes, and we are carnivores. We eat other animals. I have no problem with people eating other animals. We actually, scientists have proven that we need animal fats to have a healthy brain. Vegetable fats are not good enough for it. They just aren't.
What about impossible?
That doesn't mean
fats?
you have to cause unneeded suffering.
So what about impossible fats?
From Impossible Burgers.
It looks like meat.
Well, I have to say,
I love Impossible Burgers.
Next month I will be vegan 34 years, so my brain's fine. But this is a personal choice.
Yeah. I certainly don't have a problem with people that are vegan. I understand where you come from.
Yeah.
And believe me, I've thought of it too.
Yeah.
And pardon me, it's not a good
I don't know.
choice.
I mean, me personally, I love.
Uh-oh, Tommy.
Oh, where'd he go?
Lost Tommy's signal. He'll be back.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, factory farming is terrible for everything and everyone.
Yeah.
It is like no one wins. The only ones that win are kind of capitalists.
Yeah.
And I'd rather my food cost a little more and have less suffering, and have a better life in between. But
it's a lot better than it used to be. It's changed more than I thought it would in my lifetime, but it's ways to go.
Well, and I've had the Backyard Advocacy League and Backyard Pet Project and stuff like that. They've been very frustrated with trying to get legislation passed, and I was like, well, the government ties it all into agriculture.
Yeah.
And first and foremost, you probably should try to get domestic dogs and cats separate from cows and other livestock, so you don't have to battle the lobbyists that are fighting
and that's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
Well, they do it with other things too. They tack things onto bills that have nothing to do with the bill, so that it won't pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if you did legislation to separate them legally in the eyes of the law, you'd have less of an uphill battle to make laws about how those animals should be kept, the domestic animals.
Yeah.
And that was my suggestion to them. Otherwise, you're just going to have to work within like factory farmers fighting you.
Well, laws don't always work.
No, they have to have teeth. They have to have
worse.
They have to have a process. They have to have people behind it.
They have to be enforceable.
Inspectors. They have to be enforceable. And enforce with what? What are the consequences and rules? And it's. I wish it was simpler.
Against that kind of money, it's really hard. Yeah. Where did he go?
I think his internet crashed.
Oh no.
We'll be wrapping up in a minute. Anyway, let me see what he says. He said everything just froze and his lights were blinking on. I think he had an internet crash. So we've been having those too because the solar flares.
Oh yeah.
And my GPS has been having troubles too because we're in solar maximum. And so during the week when we had all the aurora borealis come down here, our internet would like crash every 5 minutes.
Oh wow.
And I had to reset because they're just getting all that EM pulse wiping everything out. But
do you when you're working with the dogs for behavior, do you ever find things that you have to tell the owner about physically, like tumors?
Oh yeah, quite frequently. I've saved a couple of dogs' lives at least, maybe many more than that. I've alerted people to pain because I'll hover my hand over, I'll feel heat, and I'll see the dog's reaction and their response to my energy in those areas. And I'll be like, "There's pain near here." I've even had dogs nearly bite me because I was like, "Oh." And they're like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." No, don't apologize. The dog wasn't trying to hurt me. The dog was naturally responding to pain. And when clients call me on the phone, a lot of times I'll ask, "Well, have you, with a sudden behavioral change, especially, have you gone to the vet to see if there's a medical cause?" So that's the first suggestion: is go see if there's a medical cause, because medical causes have medical solutions, and sometimes pills can help. So hypothyroidism can cause sudden aggression, weight loss, weight gain,
told people that.
temperature sensitivity, lethargia. So sometimes that can be at hyperthyroidism, which usually is cancer with dogs.
Different in cats.
Different in people too. Different regulatory systems. But yeah, so I usually will suggest, well, take them to the vet, describe the behavior changes you're having. If the vet doesn't know what to do or ignores you, find another vet.
Yeah.
It's nothing wrong with getting another opinion. No one vet can be perfect at everything, even if your vet's great with what you've experienced so far. Sometimes you may need to find someone else for what you're dealing with now. Everyone has their great strengths and weaknesses. But so yeah, I've done that. I've found lumps. I've seen symptoms in the eyes and the teeth and certain nail growth.
Last month, and this a horrible smell with the dog, and it smelled like dead tissue. And I thought at first it was the teeth, so I looked at the teeth, and when I pulled this down, there was a huge tumor in there.
Oh no! Yeah, that's hard for most clients. Aren't gonna look in their dog's mouth. My dog gets inspected by me all the time, just for various reasons, just because I like teasing, playing with him, messing with his lips,
and they feel bad sometimes. I tell them, well, you don't have your hands all over your dog like we do, and even more so than a vet. I'm touching every inch of that dog. But that smell, I knew something was bad.
Yeah. The tumor flesh smell is a pretty unique smell, especially in the mouth.
It's like rotted meat.
It's inverted tumors or like that.
It's like almost necropsy. Like,
Yeah. Well, cancer is basically your cells that reproduce wrong.
Yeah.
And so they're not functioning properly, and a lot of those cells die quickly. And so you do get a lot of actual dead flesh in a tumor. You have other random tissues growing in there, sometimes other teeth, hair, eyes, where really genetics just going crazy. So tumors are really strange.
I've found quite a few tumors on dogs, and unfortunately none of it ended well, but
by the time you would be able to detect a tumor like externally, a lot of times it's already metastasized or something, like spread. So I usually detect illness in the dog much earlier because I don't even have to see it or feel it to know.
Yeah.
I see the behavior changes. I see the way its gait is.
Yeah.
So like I've been in tune with the micro body language of dogs for so long, I can see when there's a slight hitch or a way the body moves or that their muscles aren't holding them
Right.
like they should, like the stability of the back is off or different. And so and then see how they look at me and how they respond to how I move near them and touch them. It tells me a lot of what's going on up here and if their brain is functioning normally.
And it can look more like lameness, and it can be a type of a tumor in there.
Exactly. And I also notice if their eyes dilate or don't to light, which most people aren't going to notice.
Yeah.
And so that'll tell me a lot. I've helped people find that their dogs have brain tumors early, and they were able to get them in and get
I went through that.
The laser knife, the Sigma knife or whatever it is.
I went through it with a cat.
Few more years.
Unfortunately, the cat was born deaf and then went blind. That was, I think, one of the hardest things I've ever had to deal with an animal, knowing they couldn't see or hear. But yeah.
Tommy wants to know if she's Link. My gosh, my throat.
My water.
Oh, no. It's allergies this time of year.
Oh, okay.
Let me see here. Let's see if we can get Tommy back. Tommy Doolin. Computers these days are pretty capable.
I haven't had one in forever. Everything I need to do is on my phone.
You can edit all this out if we need to. We'll just basically Tommy on here in time to wrap up anything he wants to. Oh, there he is.
I don't know.
There you are.
I don't know what was going on. Like, you guys were all fizzing up, and like it was cutting in and out, and then next thing I know, I was all gone. Like,
you had frozen a couple times a little bit, but I didn't mention it because it was from our end you froze up.
Yeah, that's what it was doing on your end too. But sometimes the internet gets choppy here, and it just does this crap sometimes.
Our internet here is usually very stable. Yeah. No worries. We just continued a little discussion. We talked about detecting tumors in dogs with work with like what we do. Okay. You can watch later.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'll have to get filled in on the little bit that I missed here.
Yeah, we're getting it to hour and 20 some odd minutes. So I figure when you get back, if you have any follow-up questions for Becky, or if Becky has any other questions for me.
I mean, about the only one that I do have, and I was going to wait till, everybody was done talking to ask, and then I got so rudely interrupted by the internet. So again, when I was brought up, we didn't do much grooming, anything like that. It was give the dog a bath and be done with it and whatnot. I mean, in the grand scheme of everything, how important is actually, having your dog professionally groomed, or even just doing, semi-grooming around the home and whatnot? I mean, does it really make a huge difference in really anything? I mean,
skin wise, it's good health of the skin, especially if the dog mats. Those mats can pull on the skin.
It comes down to the dog's type of skin and oils and their fur type.
Yeah,
and some dogs have hair. So not all dogs need groomed. All dogs, in my opinion, need bathed typically no fewer than every other month to reset their oils, because the oils can build up and cause skin problems and acidity and stuff like that. So I have really short-haired dogs, so I don't need a groomer to do that. Technically, I can do that myself.
Of course, nails, that's important to have.
Nails are part of very important.
Cleaning the ears, and like we were saying, you don't send your dog to the groomer to detect tumors, but we do feel every inch of the body, and so we may see something before anyone else.
It's very important health. It's required. It's not even a question. Certain breeds need groomed.
Yeah.
And grooming is more than just brushing your dog and giving it a bath.
Right.
It's the way to trim the hair or fur, whether or not to trim it, and how. The length in certain areas for health, and so the ears can breathe and don't build up a bunch of infection.
older dogs, like they have incontinence, so you want to get some of that hair out of there so
sanitary
that it's not
shave
sitting in it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Some groomers do expressing anal glands. My thing is, if it's inside the dog, that's not my area. That's the vet.
that can be very risky.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if those are ruptured in there. I don't, you're doing it from the outside. I don't think it's a good idea, so I don't do that.
I have
don't
clients
brush
that say
teeth.
they do that. I told them not to do that.
No.
Have your vet do that.
That's
Even though you've gotten away with it so far, the walls of those anal glands can vary, and they're so close to such important arteries.
Yeah.
And they're so, it's a cavity near the anus with the duct that goes into the anus, which means that if it bursts, it will get infected and bad if you get a dog.
It just sounds like something I wouldn't expect my groomer to do.
Well, and why would you want smelly stuff all over your dog you're trying to clean? It's really hard to get out. I just never understood why that
it's
became
almost like a
grooming
skunk smell.
thing. Yeah, it's not.
Imagine rusty pennies and mushrooms with a little bit of poo.
It's hard to describe.
And that's anal, and it's oil, so it sticks and it's hard to clean.
I'm more disturbed at the fact that you know specifically what that smells like than
well, when
anything
they
else.
do it themselves.
If I told you all the stories of how and why I've been anal gland squirted, it'll be that's even worse. But
when they release their own, it doesn't smell bad. It's
not as bad.
It's totally different and
stress squeezed.
I looked it up on the holistic vet that I think a lot of online, and what she said was, if they don't have a physical defect where they can't do it right, like the anatomy's not right, or they're not obese where they can't reach back there, that it's probably due to allergies, that there's some other health reason that it needs done. And if you keep doing it all the time and it doesn't need done, those muscles will depend on it. They won't be able to do it themselves. So
I do fully agree with everything you just said.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons not to do that.
I don't jump right to allergies. There's the problem that's more common than even allergies is your dog's poop solid enough to stretch the anus and make it work? Because the anal gland is meant to lubricate the poo coming out, and it's expressed through the poop pushing against the anal walls,
fiber,
and it's also meant to mark it with hormones and other things so that it serves other purposes. But if they have watery, liquidy poo, or not very bulky poop, or very soft poop for a very long time, that anal gland is not being expressed naturally, and it'll build up, and it can cause problems. But food allergies can cause all that looseness of stool, which can then exacerbate if it's also an allergy trigger. So something to look for. The dog that's boarding with us because their mom's on deployment, we switched her to a grain-free food because her mom told us she has a grain allergy. I give her bread and her ears flare up.
Yeah.
And so we switched her to grain-free food, and she started eating because she wasn't wanting to eat her old food. She started losing a lot of weight because most of her weight was cortisol-induced body fat because she was stressed from allergies all the time. Man, my throat's dry. And just water weight from inflammation.
Yeah.
So we got her on good food and got her allergies down. Her body weight stabilized.
Wow.
So something to look for.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a good question.
So bottom line, it really depends on the dog and the breed.
Now, during COVID, the health department might not have thought it was essential.
Yeah, it's important for the dog's health. Yeah, it depends. If your dog's hair is, in my opinion, more than about an inch and a half long, you should at least be brushing that dog daily.
I laugh at that. I have very few people actually brush their dog.
I brush my dog, and his hair's this long.
It's rare, let me tell you.
And it's not. Well, people think, I don't need to brush my dog because his hair doesn't get tangled. Well, it's more than that. It spreads oils across the coat, stimulates new oil growth, helps get debris and allergens off their coat, and it stimulates their muscles, and it reduces their stress and increases your bonding with the dog. Brushing's an awesome ritual for so many reasons, and it also helps you inspect your dog, so you find ticks, you find tumors, you're familiar with all the bumps that should or should not be there for your dog, and you can
get them used to the groomer.
Get them used to the groomer. You get them used to the vet.
Yeah.
There's no downside. There's nothing but incredible positives.
I've got
to brush your dog.
A whole bunch of clients too that their dogs get groomed every month, and it's amazing.
That's almost too long.
The hair grows. I didn't think that was the case. I thought, they were just being over, protective of their dog, but it turns out, they need it every month.
I heard with some dogs, you need it every 2 weeks to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Even if you're not trimming every time, just to reduce mats and so on, especially if the client doesn't brush their own dog or doesn't know how to.
Yeah.
Right.
Because sometimes certain dogs need a certain amount of brush with the right type of brush.
I think most groomers will tell you that the hardest situation when it comes to that is doodles. People want them long and they don't brush them.
Their hair curls. It just wants to braid.
The mixture of that poodle with the other dog, it's just, I don't know what it does to the hair, but it's not normal. it's like a standard poodle on steroids, and it's really hard to get that dog if they don't brush it. And
yep, I've heard that too.
Yeah. So they're becoming very expensive to do, and groomers are getting to the point where if you don't brush it, we're cutting it off.
Because they got to do what they got to do.
I mean, you can't do that. Only do so much with it, so
yeah.
I bet you have to deal with a lot of measures. Yeah, exactly. I bet you have to take a lot of flack from clients sometimes, like disappointed, angry clients.
No, I really
you have to do what you have to do sometimes.
I don't get much of that. If I get a new person that's got that kind of a dog, I just tell them nicely.
Give them
I have to brush them. I show them which brush and comb to use. I show them the clipper comb I use and say, if this doesn't go through, it won't work. So if your comb's not going through, this isn't going to go through. And then if it's matted, then I tell them, okay, if it's matted again, we're gonna have to cut it short.
Yeah. Right. And Tommy, if you don't know, you know what a mat is, right?
Yeah, I've had dogs that have been matted, so.
Okay.
See, that's one reason I don't groom cats, because their mats will pull up and the skin goes up like a tent. And then when the clipper blade goes through, you can cut that skin.
Yeah.
So it can be dangerous if they're really matted.
Well, a hunter animal has a lot of flexible, stretchy skin so they can run and leap.
Cats, you have to actually stretch their skin out so it doesn't creep up into the blade. And
I've heard about that.
I don't like that. So I don't do them.
Yeah. So in other words, mobile groomers have some advantages that you won't get at shops. Not that they're, totally superior to shops, but I think they're better. Certain breeds you should do research on. Make sure you know if they need groomed, what kind of grooming, and how frequency. Make sure you do your own maintenance at home, as best you can with the right brush. Talk to your groomer or a groomer about what type of brush to buy for that type of dog's hair and how frequently to brush. It's going to be annoying because it's a task. It's something you got to do. But if you see it the right way, the best way, the only way, that it's a bonding time with your dog and makes you familiar with them so you can catch illness early, it's a good thing. It's a task, but it has so much reward for it. Please just do it. Just brush your dog. If you need behavioral help, please contact an expert. Contact me if you can. I travel nationwide. I'll put the phone number down on the bottom of the screen or at the end of it. Yes, I deal with dogs that no other trainer or behaviorist will deal with, because if they're a bite case or could hurt the person visiting, hurt me, I will still come out and help your dog. May have to muzzle your dog. I may need your help. But we will try our best to give your dog the best shot, give it the last shot, every chance for you to make an informed decision about your dog's health and behavior in life, and give it a chance to have a good, healthy life, full of goodness and happiness and less stress. And that's what I'm here to try to help. And Becky, I think we're on the same page as that. She's, as a groomer, is trying to make sure the same thing, that they get a chance to be healthy and happy and safe, give them less trauma. And that's what us professionals are really here for. So if you need help, please reach out, and we'll be happy to talk to you. Okay.
Absolutely.
So,
I would also suggest that if Becky has a number or any information that we could give out to people to get in touch with her, we could throw that on the screen as well and everything else here. So
yeah, well, I'll put in the link in the description for. I don't know if you have a website or any social media. It's kind of old school.
I hate to say this, but I do. But I stay completely filled all the time. I have a waiting list.
She's like, I don't need more business.
She's still on the MySpace, is what it is.
No, I'm not.
If you're full of clients right now, would you be interested or willing for if anyone needs to call for questions?
Oh, sure. They can. So. Yeah. Most mobile groomers within 3 to 6 months are full. It's pretty quick.
There's not enough of them out there, sounds like.
No, I get like 500 contacts like in a couple of months. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah, she really needs some of my cards and brushes. Yeah, spread the word. I know I'd rather not.
I do tell people.
Good. I'd rather not pay for advertising. I'd rather people that know me and believe in me tell people that I can help.
Yeah.
Because that's everyone wins then.
And I'm not on MySpace.
I don't think MySpace exists.
I do have a website and a Facebook page.
I don't even know if half the people listening to this would know what a MySpace page is, but anyway. So, yeah, contact a professional. Becky here is, and people like her here to help. And like I said, I'll have my information for if you need help with your dog. And that's pretty much it. So you've been listening to the Captain Spish Dog Behavior Podcast. I'm Kyle, aka Captain Spish. This is Becky.
Yep. Becky, the one and only, and me, T.Tommy, here, even with internet issues. So, still rocking.
Yeah. Internet issues with Tommy's back. All right. That's it's been a pleasure. And see you next time. Dog bless.
Au revoir.
It was unconventional, but it worked.
And I never tell clients, just like I never tell the dogs, not to be scared.
Unfortunately, dogs don't have the ability to just talk it out with you.
See, there's all kinds of different types of bites, but I'll get into that later. What's happened here? How did this start? How can I help you? You reward good behavior and you discourage or redirect bad behavior into good behaviors. Warm talk, anecdotes, stories, get to know me, get to know them. Yeah. What you do or don't do with that dog, how you handle that dog, how you think and feel and what you do with your thoughts and feelings around that dog. And it's going to be for the rest of that dog's life.
You can't just unplug the corgi and plug him back in. You know, I'm going to be open and honest about it. And that was like watching art.